Hey guys, what's up? Welcome back to the channel. It's Cynicalex, and today we're taking a look at Doctor Strange Tier 3 PvE. We've switched over his obelisk to a CTP of Rage. We've tweaked some of the numbers, and we'll go into the detailed build in a bit. But first, I want to dive into an extremely challenging stage. This is 58 Cull Obsidian with one support. We're only going to be using Phil Coulson here. Now, sometimes I like to do showcases where I don't use any strikers to get a really good feel of the character's damage output, but really for this time I want to show you what he can do and just how shocking his damage output is, to the point where you might wonder if he can do this stage, as you'll see, without any strikers, or with minimal strikers, or with worse strikers, because his damage output is disgusting. It's possibly one of the best in the game now, and it's also amazing because he only has all defense down on his 6th skill, so you can actually still experience huge spikes in your damage if you just get lucky with one of your strikers popping in for some all defense down action. I got snared there, I got snared and then frozen, which is going to slow us down by a few seconds, but once the party starts, it's hard to stop the train. And so you'll see what I'm talking about here in just a second. The damage, you know, it's just so steady. The Rage CTP really benefits Doctor Strange because you don't have to worry about timing nearly as much. Like, I mean, there's still a few things that you want to get done in terms of timing, but really you're trying to just spam 4-3-2 and a cancel to get as many 6th skills as possible, and that's definitely the advantage of a Doctor Strange, Tier 3 in general. But you can see that there are certain situations, I mean, there are just certain moments where suddenly the damage starts spiking, and that's the all defense down from his 6th skill comboing with the all defense down from some of the strikers. So because of that, you are going to see pretty radical differences in clear speed. So I think on average this clear speed takes between 2 and 3 minutes, and that's a pretty big gap because, whoops, because you paused it, no. Because you can see there, look, when we hit the all defense down from Weapon Hex or from Deadpool, Dr. Deadpool, it's a lot more damage. So it kind of just compounds, it kind of multiplies out the damage. Right now we're probably on pace for something in the realm of 2 to 2.5 minutes. But if we don't hit any strikers, it can definitely lean a lot more towards 3 minutes, possibly even a little bit more. But 3 minutes with one striker is absurd, and you basically block every single offensive attack by Cull Obsidian as well. As you can see there, his time freeze on his tier 3 skill cuts through everything. I don't think there's any ability that blocks that except for, as you'll see in the other clear, I want to show you guys Thanos' debuff immunity. So besides debuff immunity, I don't think there's anything that can stop Doctor Strange's 6th skill from actually hitting and freezing for at least that minimum of 1 second. But Cull Obsidian can't do anything. He's completely locked down. This is like he's in prison. This is so easy. This is so smooth. There's so much damage, and you can have these results on a lower stage with a worse build. You can even do this on a stage 40 or 45 with a completely defensive build, which is insane and definitely earns the moniker of Omega tier if you guys watched the video earlier today. But you can see the damage is kind of not dropped off, but it's slowed down a little bit because we're just not getting any of these ignored defense strikers. You want to cancel his 6th skill as soon as you see the clones pop up. That's kind of your cue that you can start to do other things. But otherwise, you can see there's just a lot of room for more efficient use of skill canceling if you can. Oh, no! Okay, we weren't actually supposed to clear that stage. That was pretty bad. I wasn't fast enough to pause it. I mean, I wanted to clear the stage eventually, and cool, Sandman got his potential. But what I wanted to show you guys, and I actually can't show you for today, and I'll have to show you on another clip, on another video, that kind of sucks, and which is maybe one of the reasons why we should be able to replay World Boss Ultimate stages without any reward, so we can showcase characters, Netmarble, wink wink, is Thanos. And what I wanted to show you guys against Thanos is that I can take Doctor Strange, and you're gonna have to believe me on this one for now, but I mean, I got all the way up to stage 39, and you can take Doctor Strange into a stage 39, and he can finish the first 11 bars of the fight in like a minute. And he does that because he constantly crowd controls Thanos. He constantly freezes him. He time freezes him with the 4th, with the 6th skill and with his passive, his tier 2 passive. But And so the damage is insane for the first 9 bars of Thanos' life, from 20 to 11. But of course, you guys know for Thanos World Boss Ultimate, once he gets down to 11 bars, he goes to that phase change. He launches all those meteors at you, and then from that point on to the rest of the fight until the end of the fight, he has debuff immunity, this little feather with a yellow background. That debuff immunity completely cripples Doctor Strange. It's insane how much of a difference, and essentially, I don't think he can do it. I mean, I would need a perfect run. I would need 2 supports, not just 1. I would need full 5 strikers. It's night and day. It's actually insane. It goes from a hilariously easy World Boss Ultimate fight to possibly the most challenging World Boss Ultimate fight for Doctor Strange. And I don't even say that with exaggeration. For those of you that need a clear example, if you've ever played Deadpool against Thanos, you'll know that the first, and we'll take it into a stage 30 so I can show you just a brief example of what I'm talking about. That's not Deadpool. Deadpool is very good against Thanos for the first 11 bars, and we're just going to show him off with 1 support here because he doesn't really need the second support. We're just going to put in some kind of generic strikers here. Deadpool does amazingly well against Thanos in the first 9 bars, the first sort of 2 phases, because the all defense down works. And that is Deadpool's bread and butter. But then in the third phase, I guess, or the second major phase change, Deadpool's damage falls off a cliff. And it falls off a cliff because he doesn't have the all defense down anymore. So I want you to pay attention to how quickly, once we get the tier 3 skill off, as soon as I can get out of this sort of trap that I'm in, but once we get the tier 3 skill off, I want you to pay attention. We're going to let him go, and it's that feather right there. It's the Purify that he's going to get. But we're going to pop the tier 3 skill. We're going to stack the all defense down, and then you guys are going to see with the next proc how insane the damage is. So we stack some all defense down. We're going to stack a little bit more here, and then we're going to pop the 4th skill. We're going to proc, and you can see, okay, we got interrupted, wow. But even with that was his 2nd skill. You can see the damage is absurd. We flashed through a bar with 1 skill, with his 2nd skill, which doesn't even do that much damage compared to his other skills. And we're going to try it again here. We're going to build up the tier 3 skill. We're going to pop it. We're going to stack a bunch of all defense down. We're going to stack more on his 1st skill. We're going to stack, well, we're not going to be able to stack any now. But you can see that even with a little bit of all defense down, the damage is, that was at least a bar. We're getting pretty unlucky getting interrupted and getting kind of shortchanged on the all defense down. But you guys definitely know what I mean when it comes to, the amount of damage that he's doing between stacking the all defense down and then just simply timing a proc. And I haven't even gotten that much all defense down, but we're gonna get to the next phase pretty quickly. So that was 1 minute and 20 seconds for those of you keeping score. 1 minute and 25 seconds to get 9 bars. So you're like, okay, we're gonna clear this in like 3 minutes. This is gonna be easy. Well, pay attention to how much damage Deadpool starts doing now that Thanos has, basically immunity for the rest of the stage. We no longer get to stack the all defense down, so that's just not an option anymore. And then when we're going to try to proc here with the next proc with 4 and 5, the damage becomes, that was possibly a bad proc, you could argue, because I believe I was short on, or I was early to, or late to cancel 4, and so it didn't proc properly. We're going to proc on 5 here, or not, but you can see the damage is a lot worse. And the damage is a lot worse for that same reason with Doctor Strange. So although I can't show you directly Doctor Strange, you can see his best damaging skill is now his 6th skill with the proc, just as a standalone ability. But because you can't stack the all defense down anymore, if you check out how much his 4 cancel 5 does with a proc, it's a joke. It's like less than half a bar. So think about it. Deadpool went from doing more than a bar of damage with his 2nd skill, just the 2 skill, more than a bar of damage, to less than half a bar of damage with his 4 cancel 5 combo. And that sort of crippling of the all defense down mechanic is what is part of the reason that makes Thanos' World Boss Ultimate so difficult, but it's part of the reason that makes Doctor Strange not invincible. So actually, despite how amazing Doctor Strange is, and I would say he's the best character for Cull Obsidian World Boss Ultimate. He's the best character to clear Cull Obsidian World Boss Ultimate, and I think he can also do Proxima, Corvus, and Ebony as well because of the all defense down. He is quite bad. Still very, very good for Thanos. but considerably worse than someone like Jean Grey. Because in Jean Grey's case, she doesn't rely on, or in someone like Sharon Rogers' case, they don't rely on all defense down to get that damage. And so to make up for the fact that they don't have any all defense down, their 6th skills for Jean Grey, it's Revelation, and for Sharon Rogers, it is Legendary Defender. Those abilities, because they don't have all defense down, they have to stack more damage. I mean, they must have more DPS in order to come out with similar numbers at the very end. And so because of that, Doctor Strange has basically one weakness in PvE content, and that is, stages that have debuff immunity. So the only other stage that I can really show you clearly that Doctor Strange is not going to seemingly obliterate and dominate is giant boss raid. And for those of you that have already imagined that I was going to go here, yeah, you can kind of put 2 and 2 together. We're going to use Phantomex and Moon Girl to get these extra bonuses here, but you'll see that despite being able to do stage, what was that, 58 in like 3 minutes, he's going to struggle a lot more against this boss because of the debuff immunity. So Thanos World Boss Ultimate at very high stages, and GBR in general, he's not going to struggle. It's not going to take him 9 minutes to clear this stage. And of course, when I say struggle, I mean in relation to Jean Grey Tier 3, in relation to Sharon Rogers Tier 3s. Of course, I'm comparing him to the other highest DPS blast Tier 3s. So that's a really important factor to take into consideration. Doctor Strange is still an amazing character. I just want to point out that he does have his weaknesses, and he does have places that he's less suitable for than others. And so that's something to consider, and that's something to keep in mind when you're looking at Tier 3 characters. If they have all defense down, then that is actually artificially boosting their damage. Deadpool's damage without the all defense down is really bad. And that's why there's such a huge jump between a Tier 2 and a Tier 3 Deadpool, because he gets that all defense down from his 6th skill. That's why some characters can't clear any world boss without strikers, because they need that all defense down to help them penetrate and do enough damage. But once they can lower those defenses enough, they can punch 10 times harder than normal. Whereas other characters, man, Snake left. Whereas other characters like Jean Grey, Captain Marvel, although she has a little bit of all defense down on her 6th skill, I believe the majority of her damage doesn't come with any all defense down. Thanos as well, although he does have all defense down on his 2nd skill. Primarily Jean Grey and Sharon Rogers with 0 all defense down. Although Jean Grey does have elemental resistance down, it's not the same. It doesn't work the same way. They have higher raw damage. And I mean, I don't want to get too detailed into it because these are obviously things that I'm speculating about. I don't have the data to prove it, but it just makes sense, and it's why Jean Grey can clear these GBR stages faster than Doctor Strange, even though they have basically the same builds. They both have mythic uniforms, they both have CTPs of Rage, and although I play really well with Doctor Strange, you can see that just the damage is just not as great. I mean, Sharon Rogers and Jean Grey both would have one-shotted this boss already into the next phase. But as you can see, I'm still here, and maybe part of it has to do with my teammate not being super good, but I don't think it is. I just think it has to do with the all defense down not applying. I got mind controlled there. I got frozen. Wow. Yeah, it just exposes one of the weaknesses of characters who rely on all defense down. And that's the same reason why, comparing Doctor Strange again to Deadpool, why Deadpool is not very good for... Actually, he's doing pretty well, 7 million, 8 million damage. Why Deadpool is not really good for Giant Boss Raid. And so it's an interesting kind of weakness, because it makes it more important to consider, if you really like GBR, maybe you want to get a different Tier 3 than Doctor Strange. Like maybe Sharon Rogers, she's cheaper, and she's going to be able to... I mean, she would be done by now. Like Sharon Rogers and Jean Grey would both already be finished this fight. Let's be honest. We're 2 minutes in, and it would be over. Now, I didn't bring any supports, but I also am not using a debuff leadership, which in Jean Grey's case, she would use a debuff leadership. And in Sharon Rogers' case, she would also use a debuff leadership with one support, like White Fox. But even still, Doctor Strange is still a ways away from clearing this. We're 2.5 minutes in almost, and he's still got 20 bars or more to take on. Now, I did miss his Tier 3 skill. there. Oh, I got mind control. This is pretty ugly. I think I killed my teammate. No, not yet. We're going to have to... this is going to eat up about 10 seconds of time, so we're going to have to take it into consideration. But I believe they just died, so now we don't have to worry about killing them, so that's pretty good. But yeah, I mean, I don't want anyone to see this and think I'm saying Doctor Strange is a bad Tier 3. Not at all. I just don't want the hype for Doctor Strange Tier 3, as amazing as he is, and he's fantastic, and he might be the second highest DPS character in the game now, or he might be the #1 DPS in the game, actually. He does still have weaknesses, so there is still balance. It may not be the type of balance that we want. It might not be amazing balance, but there is some semblance of balance with these Tier 3s, and with this new one, Doctor Strange's. It's no different. So I do appreciate that, and I do... Oh, come on, I got mind controlled again. Am I going to heal him, though? I'm not going to heal him. Okay, I can still kill him, even though I'm mind controlled. I just have to make sure that I don't get hit with any other, you know, stat debuff. I'm getting hit a lot, which is unusual, but that's okay. But this is going to take a little bit longer than usual. We lost about 20 seconds to mind control and other things. So again, it takes about 3 minutes and 20 seconds. A little bit slower, I would say, anywhere from 45 seconds to a minute and a half slower. Man, those rewards are garbage. Slower than Sharon Rogers and Jean Grey. So apologies for killing Cull Obsidian there and not being able to show you guys firsthand that Doctor Strange against Thanos, but I will bring that to you later in a different video. But holy crap, Doctor Strange, PvE, absolute powerhouse. Now, a CTP of Rage is going to be your best bet for PvE, but any sort of proc with crit damage and, you know, something else is good. He doesn't necessarily need crit rate if you're not going to go with a CTP of Rage. Crit rate is not something he needs because he gives himself 60% crit rate for 7 seconds with Sorcerer Supreme. So keep that in mind. The crit rate bonus is good for obelisks, but for a CTP of Rage, you still need to cap his crit rate because the Rage CTP proc doesn't look at your buffed stats. It looks at your details page before any in-skill, in-dungeon buffs. So that's why I still have crit rate and dodge capped, despite that 60% bonus. Almost capped crit damage as well. And then, of course, capped ignore defense and cooldown with just under 36,000, or just about 36,000 and a half energy attack. So that's the build. PvE, Doctor Strange, the reigning champion, possibly CTP of Rage. Again, I know. And then, you know, HP, kind of a split between PvE and PvP on the Urun. We could go a little bit higher, but there's really no point because everything is maxed out. I could give him a few more crit damage Urus, I guess, instead of the HP, but this makes him more flexible for timeline battle. So hit me up in the comments. Let me know what you think of Doctor Strange and his absolutely disgusting damage. It's insane. It may be the best in the game. Do you think he's the best in the game now for PvE content with this build? Let me know. Let's talk about it. Hit me up in the comments. Subscribe if you enjoy the content. And of course, if you like what you see, I hope to see you again tomorrow. Take care.